Good day. Competitive advantage, competitive edge. We've heard a lot about it, usually in the business terms. In the business terms, what we mean is that you have to have a product or service that's better than somebody else. It has to be cheaper. It has to have more features. It has to satisfy the needs of a customer better than somebody else. And if you have that competitive edge, then people are most likely going to buy your product. Phones come to mind. We see phones that have a new feature, and people, droves go to that phone and want to buy it. So the phone of yesterday finds out that their phone of yesterday, which was great yesterday, is no longer great today, and they need to reinvent a new phone. And so they've lost their competitive edge. We understand how that works in the business world, and we actually applaud it as consumers, meaning that that's what we look for. We want the most innovative type of phone. We want the most technologically advanced car. We want clothes that are most hip. So we go buy them. But if we work for those companies, we find that distressing. We find it distressing because we have a job that produces a product, and we want to continue to produce that product. So we have a job, and now we find out that we may not have that job, or at least to the same level, because our product is no longer valued. It's no longer seen as the most innovative, the most desirable. So that's business. How does this work in our personal life? Well, in our personal life, we also have a competitive edge. And for many years, that competitive edge allowed us to be employed. And our employer helped us develop and sustain that competitive edge. They sent us to training and development. That's no longer true. We see corporations spending less and less money on what we call development, which means to develop you for the next job. They still spend an adequate amount of money on training, in other words, to train you for your current job, and in some ways that's a selfish adventure on their part. They want you to learn to be more productive in your job. They want you to learn to continue to innovate your own job, and maybe, in a way, innovate yourself out of a job. That benefits the employer. We see that employers do more today to benefit themselves rather than employees. But let's face it, employees do the same thing now. Employees are at a job less than 6 years. So why develop an employee to be better than what they are if they're going to leave very quickly? At least much quicker than they have in the past. Years past, it used to be upwards of 11 and 12 years that an employee stayed at a firm. It's less than half now. And so, employers are spending less on employees. That means that we have to retrain, re-educate, and relearn ourselves. We have to spend our own money to retrain, re-educate, and to relearn. What do we mean by retrain? And how does re-education come into play in this discussion? Here's an important part. We often wait, unfortunately, until we're no longer desirable, until we no longer have the skills of the education. Then we realize that we have to go back out and obtain the new and the most desirable skills and educations. Instead, what we have to do is, on a continual basis, obtain the skills and the knowledges and the abilities and the educations and the experience so that we don't find ourselves lacking at some point in time. Because when we find ourselves lacking, not only do we have to go back and obtain these desirable skills and talents, but we also have to look for a job. We have to look for something better than what we have now. And we call that a twofold. You have to improve yourself while you also have to look for a job. Wouldn't it be better if you had the skills of the moment and all you had to do is look for the job of the moment? It's much easier to do, much less stress, and you can devote all of your energies to a singular pursuit rather than to pursuit of more education, more skills, more knowledge, more abilities, more experience. Doing so is expensive. It takes quite a bit of time, and we have to give up something. There's very few people who obtain rewards in life without putting in the necessary sacrifices. If you look for the people who are the most wealthy, the most successful, even the most happy, they've often had to give up something along the way to obtain what they've obtained. It's the same with our own research and development account, our own trainings, our own educations. We have to give up our time, even when we're at the pinnacle of our careers. We have to give up our own time to make sure that we are investing in the future, are aware of what the future is, and then moving towards acquiring it. Sacrifice is an important part of success. And you often have to sacrifice when you're at the pinnacle of success in order to continue to obtain that success in the future. Those that are willing to invest in themselves when they don't really have to at that point in time, but to ensure that they have a future that's more bright than it is today, those are the ones that are successful. Those are the ones that have a continued path, not only to success, but eventual to greatness. It certainly gives them a sense of peace and security, which is so lacking in today's world. So, research and development, creating your own competitive advantage, being successful over the longer term, not just in the shorter term, requires that commitment and that sacrifice. Hopefully, we all continue to do so. And if we do, we'll have a much more safe and secure and stable future than just about anybody we know. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the day.